Welcome to the International Volleyball Academy, where we teach you how to play volleyball correctly from the very basics, In the previous episode, we discussed using the bump, which we learned for receiving serves, similarly for digging in the field. Volleyball defense is a complex activity aimed at keeping the ball in play after a hard attack from the opponent. It often literally means dig however you can, using any part of your body, like one hand or your chest, or even while falling.
We showed you that a player digging a powerful attack must behave like a goalkeeper in handball or soccer. Unfortunately, even the best goalkeepers in the world sometimes let in a goal. That is the ruthless law of any game. Successful and unsuccessful attempts go hand in hand. Our goal is to have as few unsuccessful attempts as possible.
In the previous episode, we also learned that in addition to the bump, the overhead technique is used. We'll also take advantage of a demonstration by a master of his craft, the libero of the Czech national team. In his performance, we see everything important for digging in the field, including the application of all techniques, body positioning, which we will explain in detail today, and the frequently repeated split step, which is the starting signal for most volleyball actions.
Let's demonstrate the correct starting position and body posture for digging. The knees should be pushed forward of the toes, and the shoulders should also lean forward level with the knees. Next comes the split step. This ensures the player has the dynamism for all subsequent actions, whether using the bump or the overhead technique. The player never knows in advance whether they will need to defend the area in front, above, or beside them. It all depends on the opponent's attacker.
In the episode about serve reception, we mentioned that the split step is the dividing line between not knowing what will happen and the subsequent reaction to the situation. From a timing perspective, the split step moves closer to the moment of impact. In a real game, players typically move to the optimal spot based on the situation's development. We will cover this later. For this phase of training, it is important to emphasize that the player must dig the ball even after repositioning, and once again, the split step. In this example, you can see that during a powerful attack, the split step occurs at the moment the ball is hit.
We will continue learning together with the digging master. For instance, we will learn that the arms can be specially shaped into a bend when digging. This is to ensure the ball's upward trajectory, which provides enough time for the next action by your team, usually a set.
We always primarily seek a way to reach the ball without falling. This doesn't contradict teaching fall techniques. Digging while falling is an extreme solution to the situation, and we will return to it later today.
Now let's once again demonstrate the significant role a wall can play in training, not only serve reception, but also digging. We've learned from Czech tennis players that the wall is the best teacher, and Czech tennis is truly world-class. In these drills, we attack the wall first from the ground and later from a jump. We want to get as close to the reality of the court as possible. And while we're at the wall, let's also recall another principle. Training should be crowned with play. So let's revisit a drill game that is suitable for both serve reception and digging.
And now let's return to the proper falling technique. We'll revisit the side fall as a universal method used in both girls' and boys' games. Do you remember the exercises from previous episodes? The situations in the game often don't exactly replicate what we've learned, but every element of the game has its basic fundamentals, and children must master these. Today, we will add a new element to the side roll and the dive save. Among volleyball players, it is commonly known as the pancake. This technique is used by players in situations where no other solution is possible. It's employed when neither the side roll nor the dive can address the situation. With this technique, the player can reach as far forward as possible.
We will also dedicate some training time to this technique. Coordinating the hand placed on the ground with the falling ball is fundamental, and various coordination exercises focusing on this are very enjoyable for the boys. It's logical that the game presents various situations that cannot be fully anticipated. As a result, even the learned techniques don't work perfectly all the time. Players often instinctively and spontaneously dive for the ball to prevent it from hitting the ground. The goal is to keep the ball in play.
And we're actually at the final stage. We have clarified everything necessary for digging the ball after an opponent's attack. Further training will combine all elements of defense on the court, digging powerful spikes, tips, or deflected balls. All subsequent training focuses on the volume of correct contacts. In training, we combine exercises where the opponent's attack comes from one position or from various positions, which better reflects game conditions and requires the player to make appropriate movements or adjustments in positioning.
In conclusion, it must be acknowledged that repeated attacks address the volume of training, but they do not faithfully replicate game situations. How so? Primarily in that court defense involves waiting for the right opportunity to make contact with the ball, accompanied by a lot of movement and adjustments that don't always result in contact and might seem unnecessary. This is the nature of play in the field. It requires character and discipline, but we'll cover that in a future episode.
We have dedicated 3 episodes to individual techniques for court defense. We will return to the topic of defense after a few more episodes, but then we will focus on tactics and strategy.
We discussed that the goal of defense is to keep the ball in play after a powerful opponent's attack using any part of the body, whether it's one hand, the chest, or even while falling. We explained the starting position and body posture before digging. The knees should be pushed forward of the toes, and the shoulders should also lean forward to the level of the knees. Next comes the split step, which provides the player with the dynamism needed for all subsequent actions, whether using the bump or the overhead technique. We revisited the idea that the wall is the best teacher, not only for serve reception but also for digging. We learned the so-called pancake is a widely used element of the falling technique. We explored various drills for digging, whether attacking from one or multiple positions.
In the next episode, we will finally teach you the basics of proper serving. Get ready for your first aces.